sometimes that's all we need, that maybe what you feeling is not abnormal, that maybe what you feeling is what everybody else is feeling. But if you never communicate with everybody else, if you never communicate with other people, then you're going to walk around feeling like, I'm the only one going through it, and suffer in silence and beat up on yourself and go around thinking something wrong with you when nah, you actually normal, that you're not the only one being attacked. You're not the only one going through these battles of the mind. You're not the only one as a parent, a young adult parent, that's wondering, am I doing the right thing? You're not the only one that feels anxiety when you dropping your kids off to school during a pandemic. You're not the only one. But if you don't communicate with other people, then you're going to feel like you're the only one. What up, everybody? It's your boy JK. Today is Thursday, so you already know what it is. It's Taco Thursday with JK, live on IG, and I'm recording from my YouTube channel, which you can go subscribe to right after this episode at Jeremy Kellem, man. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can catch episodes of the podcast dropping, my speaking engagements, man, just a lot of dope content on there, man. And I'm recording for the podcast platform and just audio platform on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So be sure to go and subscribe and follow the podcast, the Taco Thursday with JK podcast, there as well, man. And so, you know, today, for those that are new, listening for the first time, man, the Taco Thursday with JK podcast is a self-help podcast for young adults that are in the midst of establishing the foundation of in areas of their life, such as their career, financially, or their relationship status, marriage, and even or their role as a parent. And so today, man, and every day that we have a Taco Thursday with JK podcast episode, we tackle different topics, right? Y'all know I play football, so and I play safety, so I'm used to tackling people. But no longer do I tackle people, but I tackle topics that young adults face, or that I see, or I believe that young adults can relate to one way or another. And so today, the topic that I'm tackling today is communicate. I'm talking to my young adults out there that you gotta communicate. You gotta communicate with others. And I teach high school, lifetime wellness. And one thing that I realized, and I was doing an activity, because we still in the midst. What up, my dog? We still in the midst of, you know, getting to know each other, doing some, you know, social and emotional learning, you know, as the school year start off in these first 2 weeks. And an activity that I have my scholars do is I do an activity called What Do You See? Right? And I have them pull out their phone and put it on selfie mode, even though they said I sound old when I said selfie mode. But anyways, I had them flip out their phone and I have them put it on selfie mode, kind of how I am right now on IG, or you see me right now on YouTube. And so I had them glare and stare into the camera on the phone. And I had them do it for about 30 seconds. And I'm talking to them as they doing this. And I said, hey, I want you to look in the camera, look at yourself, and I want you to answer the question, what do you see? Not from an aesthetics point of view, but just from the place of, hey, look deeper. What do you see in your character? What do you see in your integrity? What do you see in you as a person, good or bad? And so I had them write down 3 things that they see that people have said to them, good or bad. And then I have them write down 3 things that they see in themselves, or that they believe about themselves, whether good or bad. And one thing that was a common denominator, or just that was common, that I was hearing a lot of scholars say was, hey, a lot of people think I'm shy, or a lot of people think, you know, I'm mean because I don't talk to a lot of people, or I don't really, you know, get along with a lot of people, or I give off a vibe like I don't want to be bothered. And I would ask the scholars, I say, okay, after you say what 3 things people see in you or believe about you, and then you say 3 things you believe about yourself or you see in yourself, whether good or bad, I then asked them, I said, well, what's one thing that you can work on? And man, so many times scholars were saying, I could talk to people more. I could communicate with people more. I need to open up. And now, I teach young adults, right? But they're on the younger end. But these young adults that I'm teaching, they going into the real world. So they become the students in college. Like I got man, I'm getting old out here, man. But I'm still young though, right? But I got high school students that are probably going into their junior year of college this year, about to graduate soon. So these young adults that I'm teaching are going into the real world, and they're going into the real world with the habit, with a tendency to not communicate, to not talk to other people. And so we tackling that topic tonight, and I'm encouraging, imploring my young adults out there, you gotta communicate. You gotta step out of your comfort zone and start to talk to other people. You have to, and I get it, because I work with kids, and I remember being in high school, and I remember just people saying, I ain't no people person. I don't do people. Like, what is that? Like, you don't do people. Like, how you gonna make it in life if you don't do people? And my scholars this year, I have like, raise your hand if you don't really do people. You don't, people aren't for you. They raise their hand. And I get it, because there is a such thing as adverse child experiences, to where scholars experience things in their life, trauma in their life, that end up they living with as adults, and it can kind of tarnish their view on humans, or other people, or tarnish how they interact with other humans based off of what has been done to them, or who has been present, who has not been present. So I'm always, I ain't gonna say always, but I'm very, very sympathetic and empathetic in that place of, hey man, I know some of these scholars dealing with some trauma, so that might determine how they interact with people. But at the end of the day, we all gotta come to a place where we begin, or we push ourselves out of that comfort zone, and we communicate with other people. And for a few reasons, I'm just going to hit on these few reasons why I believe, man, young adults, man, we got to communicate. Y'all got to talk to other people. And one, it's healthy for you. It is healthy for humans to be in a community. It's healthy for humans to be in relationship with other people, with like-minded people. You know, me and my wife and kids, man, especially with the pandemic, a lot of, we especially having younger kids, and when COVID was, COVID's still out there, and I would say like 2020, 2021, and we really was at home virtual, doing church virtually. And we understand the power of a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that's what it's about. But also, it's nothing like fellowshipping with other believers. And so we went to church this past Sunday, and just walking in and being present, being in the community of other believers, it was like, it just felt good. And me and my wife was talking about it, man. It just felt good being back in church, in the church building. And so, one, we need to communicate. And those that are feeling like, man, I don't do people, you need to communicate. That being a loner in life is lonely. And the crazy thing is, I used to, and still kind of am a loner. And it's lonely. But I do have outlets. I do have community. I got my fraternity. I have my work, the people that I work with, and my homeboys and my friends. That I have that community when I want to tap into that community. But some people don't have that community at all. So if you're a young adult out here, if you're a person in general, where you like, I don't do people, and you don't have a relationship, you don't have community, and you just going through life alone, and just kind of by yourself, and you doing you, to a certain extent, I get it. I see the benefits. You know, you don't have to deal with other people. You kind of to yourself. But then again, I see the cons. Like, I know people that go on vacation by themselves. My mom was telling me she knows somebody that goes on trips and goes on summer vacations by themselves. And I think that to a certain point, that got to be cool. But I promise you that vacation would be better if she went with somebody. And I'm not talking about in a relationship, but I'm just saying that in community, friends. Me and my wife, we love going on vacation with each other and just doing our thing one-on-one. But if she probably would tell you one of our best, one of the most best trips that we done went on, had the most fun on, was a group trip, a wedding. And so community is important. So we got to build that community, and we need to communicate with others, one, because it's healthy. The Bible even tells us, man, right? So God, even while he created woman, God seen that, right? That it's not good for man to be alone. So not saying that there aren't moments, there aren't times, there aren't seasons where we may walk alone. But I'm talking about 24/7, how you move, how you operate. You just choose to, you rather just be by yourself. And I don't believe that's healthy. That I believe community is healthy. Being around like-minded people is healthy. So my young adults out there that don't do people, I need you to start doing people to a certain extent. I need you to start building that relationship with other people. All right? And then, so one benefit of communicating with other people is that it's healthy for you. Think about the prison. When they want to punish somebody, where do they put them? Solitary confinement. They put them somewhere by themselves. Because they're basically saying, hey, if I take you from the community within the prison, then that'll affect you more and get to you more and reprimand you more than if I leave you with the general population. And so that's one benefit. It's just being healthy to communicate with others and be around others. And then two, I think that it's important to communicate with other people because you find out that you're not alone. I think one of the tricks, especially if you're someone that's a believer in Jesus Christ and you tap into your spiritual side, there's a battle, there's a war that we fight every day, and a war to mind, right? The different battles that it starts in the mind. And sometimes in life, a lot of times in life, one of the tricks of the devil, one of the tricks of the enemy, is to make you think you're going through something all by yourself. And so to my young adults out there that's feeling like, man, nobody don't know how I feel. Like, I'm in college. I don't have no family support. I'm working 2 jobs. I'm taking 18 hours. Man, nobody don't know how this feels. And I promise you, if you start to talk to other people, start to talk to some of your other college classmates, start to talk to your roommates or the people that's in your building, I promise you, you'll realize you're not alone. And then when you realize that you're not alone, that you're not the only one going through something, then it allows you to not beat up on yourself. It allows you to not look at yourself as man, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I the only one? Because when you realize you're not the only one, then you see, okay, other people going through this, so I don't have to beat up on myself that maybe I don't have it all together right now, or I don't have to beat up on myself that hey, as a father, and I'm trying to raise my kids, but I'm not the only one going through that. I was blessed, like I say, man. I did my first stop on my win tour today, and I was talking to the FCA coach on the site at the team, and I asked him. He was a former athlete. He got kids, and I was just like, man, how you do it? Like, how do you introduce your kids to sports, but not burden them with the sport? And I'm asking and I'm communicating because I didn't have to ask this question. I'm there to speak. But in the small conversation I was having, I decided to communicate with this guy because I wanted to get advice. I wanted to hear and see what he thought. And when I heard what he thought, me and him was on the same page. And sometimes that's all we need, that maybe what you feeling is not abnormal, that maybe what you feeling is what everybody else is feeling. But if you never communicate with everybody else, if you never communicate with other people, then you're going to walk around feeling like, I'm the only one going through it. And suffer in silence. And beat up on yourself. And go around thinking something wrong with you when nah, you actually normal, that you're not the only one being attacked. You're not the only one going through these battles of the mind. You're not the only one as a parent, a young adult parent, that's wondering, am I doing the right thing? You're not the only one that feels anxiety when you dropping your kids off to school during a pandemic. You're not the only one. But if you don't communicate with other people, then you're going to feel like you're the only one. So that's two. So one, I think the benefit of communicating with other people is one, is healthy for you. And then two, I believe that you find out by talking to other people that you're not the only one going through. And that you don't have to beat up on yourself and you're not alone. And then lastly, the third one that I'm sure that I'm going to be out of here is that why I believe it's important to communicate with other people is because you never know what that conversation might lead to or be. You never know who you actually are talking to. That God would put somebody in your presence, but he's not going to make you talk to him. You'll feel that look, that unction, like, man, I should say something, I should say something. But God put the person in your presence for you to talk to him. And you never know, that small conversation, the seed that you plant in that person's life that day, or you building that relationship with that person, might lead to a life-changing deal. Fellas, you might, even on a dating tip, like, fellas, you might see a young lady and you're not even trying to holler at her. You know what I'm saying? But because you saying something, just communicating, you don't know what that might jumpstart. That's really what happened with me and Brittany. When me and her first seen each other, I wasn't trying to talk to her. I wasn't trying to holler at Brittany. But came to FCA, I seen her. I was like, asked her, hey, you want some chicken, right? I was just being nice. I was communicating. I didn't walk in there like, I don't know this person, so I don't really have nothing to say to her. But I wasn't trying to holler either. But it was just me communicating. And then, Lord behold, they ended up being my wife. So it's so important to communicate with people. You sit on a plane. I know you're trying to get sleepy, and maybe, every time you're on a plane, you might not talk to everybody. But that opportunity might present itself. Your person sitting next to you might start talking to you. So what do? You ignore them, shun them, so you can get your sleep, or maybe you be present in the moment. And I was watching the I Am Athlete podcast. And he was talking about how he's on the plane and he don't really, the guy, forgot the name of the guy, man, that they had. Man, dang, I'm trying to get his name. Was it Real John? It was something like that. And he was just talking about how he was on the plane, and he ended up talking to the person next to him. And he said him and this young lady was talking. She was into, I think, medical marketing. They got to talking. She came up with this great marketing plan for him, and now they about to work together. Now, that young lady didn't get on the plane thinking that she would meet him. He didn't get on the plane thinking he would meet her. But through the power of communication, now it might be an opportunity that might change his life and might change her life forever, for the better. So Don't pass up opportunities to communicate with people, to ignite relationships. Because though what might seem minuscule right now, what might seem minor right now, can be just end up being the blessing, the largest blessing of your life. Just a small conversation right now, you don't know what it could be one day. Not saying you go into a conversation like, man, I hope I get something from this. No, but obviously God allows people to be in your presence, just like he allows you to be in somebody's presence at a specific time. And so though you might have other plans, man, I need to get here, I need to get here. Sometimes I stop myself when I'm trying to rush and get somewhere, because it happened like this all the time in school. You trying to get somewhere, and then I have to tell myself, no, rest in this moment. Rest at this time. Rest and communicate with this person. So, my young adults out there, I get it. And I realize, man, in this, I realize that these young adults, man, they growing up in a more heavy social media driven world, or technology driven world, and it's more tech than it is interpersonal communication. And so I get it, but the world, no matter how much technology ever come in the world, it's still gonna be all about it's still gonna always be about that face-to-face human connection. That ain't nothing gonna top face-to-face human connection. Communication, talking to each other. And so, like I say, man, to my young adults out there, communicate with people. Communicate with others. Communicate. One, right? So communicate with others. And so, like I say, one, it's important to communicate and ignite communication with others because it's healthy for you. Two, it's important to have communication with others because you find out that you're not alone, that you're not the only one going through it, and you find community and like-mindedness. They can help you, you can help them. And then three, man, you never know what can come out of that conversation. Who could be blessed? Who you can bless through the communication. And I close with this, man. Yesterday we was in the mall, man. Me and my wife and 2 kids. We was in the mall, man, and just enjoying ourselves. And this guy came up to me and started having a conversation. He was asking me different questions. And he's in college. And so I'm sharing him, giving advice. And then we walked away. Then we ended up going into the same store, and I just felt the Holy Spirit. Like God was like, man, give him your number. You know, you never know. Like how you gonna, if he ever needs you, he can give him your number so he can call you. That's the power of communication. So I don't know. He might call me, he might not. But he was in my life, and I was in his life at that time, at that moment in the mall. And I chose to communicate. He chose to come up to me and ask me. And I chose to respond. And so I don't know what that might turn into. I might be able to bless him years down the road. He might be able to bless me or my kids years down the road. But it starts with a conversation. It starts with communication. All right, man. So I appreciate y'all, man. To my young adults out there, make sure, man, y'all are not shunning away from communication. You gotta communicate, man. Gotta communicate, man. So, hey, appreciate y'all tuning in for the Tackle Thursday with JK podcast. Once again, man, y'all continue to wake up, strive to win on purpose, be intentional about winning, and y'all have a blessed day.